we have our next speaker up, would you please welcome Rue, who is talking the soul, sexuality and gender identities.
Hi, I'm Rue Davis. SCM has very kindly brought me up here today. I really love SCM. As we were announced, SCM is a progressive Christian group, and I really want to focus on what both of those words mean, progressive and Christian, and the importance of having both of them together. What is really, really great about SCM is the way that they keep Christianity central to progress. And I think if we want good progress, we need to keep Christ at the center of that. Without Christ, we end up in this position where we ask, what are we progressing to? We need ends to progress towards. Having progress grounded in good values found in the Bible, found in God, is what's so essential if we want to have good progress. Without Christian progressivism, we end up with progress towards what? Towards a vapid humanism, possibly, whatever makes you happy, whatever feels good, whatever's gratifying. And we also end up with what Jacques Ellul, this French theologian, calls technique, which is roughly this idea that efficiency is the be-all and end-all now, for the sake of efficiency. And he says this has really started since the Industrial Revolution, that humanity has been brought in as cogs into this machine, working towards something other than human ends, towards productivity. And if we look at it, we are all working towards that already, just towards efficiency. Metrics for what progress means, for what good means, is how much is the economy growing by, how much have we increased GDP, all of these things. And we're not really working towards human ends, but rather efficient ends. And this is only going to get worse, probably within our lifetimes, because Norbert Wiener, a computer scientist back in the 1950s, predicted that within this next century, we're going to undergo a second industrial revolution, where in the first industrial revolution, human labor was surpassed by machinery, and the human physical labor was made obsolete. Now, human mental labor is going to be made obsolete as artificial intelligence progresses. And the worry is then, what's left for the human? Where is the human? Why do we value the human if all we value is efficiency? What is left for the human? And I think that's why we need Christian progressivism, where Christianity focuses on the human, it focuses on the spirit, and the spirit is at the center of all we do and all that is important, because the human is God's most beloved. We are all created in God's image, and we have the spirit within us, and we need to see one another as bearers of that spirit. And that's the only way that we can center progressivism to push towards good ends, which really value humanity, value creation, value God's gift to us. I want to refer to quite an unknown verse in Genesis 1:26. This is a verse in which God talks about dominion being given to man over all of the earth. And I think there's a very boring, straightforward reading of this where, it's just saying man has dominion over the earth. And I think we need to dig deeper and look at what is really being said here. That dominion is given to man, meaning all humanity here, rather than this efficiency, rather than projections of efficiency, projections of outcomes. That we were meant to be here on this earth and do things on this earth for our fellow man, for one another, for God's glory, for the glory of one another, as God is found in us. Not for these machines. He gave dominion to us, not to machines, not to efficiency, not to projections. I promise I am getting around to sexuality and gender. And so this makes us think about what Christian progress is like, what it should be. And it's human-focused. It's anthropocentric. It doesn't need to be strictly anthropocentric. Animals, all of the creatures, nature is a wonderful part of God's creation. And all of these things we need to keep central. And we should look at this as it applies to gender and sexuality. So when we consider what an anthropocentrism looks like when it comes to gender, it means privileging the unique and varied experiences of gender over cold and rigid systems that roughly map out kind of averages, studies, and all of these things. Only through looking at the unique experiences, taking them seriously, understanding that God has a unique plan for everybody, that each of their experiences is divinely mapped out, and taking them seriously, not dismissing them as, this is just a sinful twisting, this is a product of the fall, as is often done in these quite conservative evangelical spaces, but understanding God has possibly set this person out on this path to have this identity, no matter how unique it is, no matter how disjunct it is from our typical and like scientific conceptions of this. And in this way, we can see that a Christian progressivism loves and embraces a person and puts a person at the center of that progress and of that acceptance. And when it comes to loving others as well, we need a similar approach, where we need to open and expand ideas of love from strict heterosexuality. And I think the reasons for having a strictly heterosexual view are varied, not particularly good in any case. I think it ranges from, oh, they just make me feel icky, all the way to, I've been put onto bad secondary sources by my church. And I think a lot of people are unfortunate and unlucky to have had that happen to them. But I think we need to be mindful of what a good expansion of sexuality looks like, a good expansion of inclusive sexuality looks like. It's a sexuality which includes and sees people as fully human, fully embodying the spirit. It's one where love isn't this product. It's not something that can be algorithmically determined by Tinder, by whatever dating site you want. Love is this very unique gift which we get to experience as Christians, which we see and feel and which we share all the time. And that love isn't this convenient thing. It's not seeing one another as products. It's not any of this. It's seeing one another as spirit bearers rather than resources. And you can see how this applies to this technique, to industrialization, where we don't want to see one another as these tools, as these things that are convenient, as these things that gratify one another, but as fully embodied people who bear the spirit. It got me thinking, I don't know if any of you were listening to the AI talk this morning, but Father Justin was this sort of AI preacher set up by this Catholic organization in California. And it's bewildering, really, that we have an AI father, this AI that has not experienced the spirit, will never experience the spirit, can never experience the spirit, and they're more open to that than they are to homosexual people in clergy. You know, that the Catholic Church is more happy and more readily accepting of this machine than it is of people who have that experience of the Spirit. And I think we need to focus on that love that is so central to Christian progress. When you think of progress, what is motivating it? It's that love, it's that experience, it's the Spirit. And I think finally, I just want to give an example of what bad liberation can look like. I think if we think of the liberation of the body, this has very often been something that has been a very progressive issue and has often been absent of a Christian perspective. I think often it's been this step of progress away from a repressive, conservative Christian ethic of modesty into this new liberation. But we should be skeptical of what this liberation has brought. And the reasons why this liberation has brought so many negative consequences is because it's not been focused on the Spirit. It's not been focused on understanding people as bearers of the Spirit. It's been focused on a simple liberation. And so we have this liberation now. The body is used everywhere in marketing materials. It's in the workplace. It's open for consumption. You can readily put your body out for consumption in various forms. And there's a lot of freedom that comes with that, and there's a lot of gratification that comes with that, with having liberty and control over your body, and with consuming other bodies. There is gratification, and on the face of it, especially for a humanist lens, very good things that come from that. But then look at the downsides that have come with that liberation. Now we are alienated from our own bodies. Our bodies become these things to be invested in. It's a whole new sphere that's opened up to marketing. Now we have this whole new range of like hygiene products that need to be considered, need to be brought, need to be purchased, of aesthetics, of aesthetic procedures. We're alienated from our body in a way where now we are something to invest in. You need to buy your health foods. You need to eat healthy. You need to be on this diet. You need to work out. You need to have your gym membership. And in a real sense, we're qualitatively no more liberated. It's just a different type of repression that we've got into now. And yet it gratifies us. And so it's harder to identify. Where it was easy to identify, I'm not free while I'm being repressed, while I'm being forced to cover up, to be modest. It's much harder to recognize I'm not free when it feels pretty good in my own freedom. And we see this is a very common theme where the adversary, Satan, tempts us. Things that feel really good often bring us into less and less freedom. And so I just want to finish with a question for you here. I want to ask you, what would a really worthwhile progressive future look like? If you look to the rest of Generation Z's lives, to your children's lives, to the rest of your lives, what is the progress you would like to see? And is God at the center of it? Thank you.